Yes, my friends, today I'm doing a lot of thinking about a few issues the Rams haven't resolved yet. Imagine waking up one day to find out the Los Angeles Rams have lost one of their best players. Stop and think about that for a moment. Who would step into that role? Who would bring the same energy, productivity, grit, and chemistry with Matthew Stafford? Right now, it's hard to find an answer. In fact, I don't see anyone on the current roster capable of truly replacing everything Puka Nacua brings to the team. Hold on, I'm not saying he's leaving us, but it is a risk the Rams run, especially when contract renewals drag on. I'm about to tell you everything that's going on and share all the details on the latest Los Angeles Rams rumors. But before we go any further, make sure you've hit that like button. Only do it, though, if you agree that Puka Nacua deserves a contract extension with the Rams. If you don't agree, leave your opinion below. But either way, write this: Go Rams, Puka should stay. He is undoubtedly a key piece for the Rams in their quest for a Super Bowl. And that's exactly why a question is starting to worry Rams fans. Will Puka Nacua get the contract extension he deserves? Or could this situation become much more complicated than anticipated? That's the mystery surrounding the Rams right now, and recent events have only intensified the conversation. For weeks, fans have wondered if the organization would act quickly to secure the future of one of football's best young wide receivers. The longer the Rams wait, the more expensive that decision could end up being. Every great season Puka puts together boosts his value, and everyone in the league knows it. That's why so many people have started closely following his every public appearance, interview, and comment. Then came Fanatics Fest, where Puka Nacua was asked about his future with the Rams. Instead of dodging the question or giving a generic answer, he made his intentions clear. When asked if he wanted to stay in Los Angeles, his answer was simple: "That's the plan." Those three words immediately shifted the direction of the conversation, as they showed that, in Puka's view, there is no desire to leave. He wants his future to remain with the Rams. That statement puts the spotlight directly on the Rams' front office. If the player wants to stay, the next move belongs to the organization. Fans have been hoping for a long-term agreement, and now the pressure only grows, because the franchise knows exactly how important Puka has become. And honestly, it's not difficult to understand why. Since arriving as a fifth-round draft pick, Puka has exceeded expectations at every opportunity. Instead of needing years to develop, he quickly became one of the biggest playmakers in Sean McVay's offense. His production speaks for itself, but what really separates him is the way he plays. Every catch feels like he refuses to go down. Every block shows how committed he is to helping the entire offense. He doesn't play like someone protecting himself. He plays like someone trying to win every single snap. That mentality has made him one of Matthew Stafford's favorite targets. Their chemistry is obvious every Sunday. Stafford trusts him in the biggest moments, and Puka has consistently rewarded that trust. Building that kind of connection in the NFL isn't easy, which is another reason why losing him would be a massive blow. Last season only strengthened his case for a new deal. He finished among the league leaders in receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns, and first downs, proving that he isn't simply a good young receiver. He's already performing like one of the elite players at his position. Of course, the contract discussion isn't as simple as deciding whether Puka deserves an extension. Almost everyone agrees he does. The real challenge is determining how much that extension will cost. Current market projections mentioned in the report estimate that Puka's next contract could average around $40 million per season, placing him among the highest-paid wide receivers in football. Depending on how negotiations develop, that number could climb even higher, especially if another dominant season raises his value further. That's why some fans believe the Rams should act sooner rather than later. Waiting always carries risk. Every incredible performance makes negotiations more expensive, while acting early could save money over the life of the contract. There is another factor the Rams have to consider as well. The organization isn't managing only one future contract. Several important players are expected to become free agents in the coming seasons, meaning general manager Les Snead has to balance the salary cap carefully while keeping the roster competitive. Even with those financial challenges, it's difficult to imagine the Rams allowing a player like Puka Nacua to leave. Franchise receivers simply don't become available very often, especially ones who are still entering the prime of their careers. One topic that has also been discussed is Puka's growth away from football. According to the report, Sean McVay has publicly indicated that the organization wants to continue seeing positive progress off the field before making a long-term commitment. The belief is that Puka has been working on himself throughout the offseason and continues moving in the right direction. If that progress continues, and if he delivers another healthy, productive season, it's hard to imagine his value doing anything except increasing. There has also been some speculation about whether Puka could hold out if a new contract isn't completed soon. However, the report suggests that's unlikely. Instead, the expectation is that he remains focused on helping the Rams compete for a Super Bowl, especially with the possibility that this could be one of Matthew Stafford's final seasons. That attitude probably explains why his comments resonated so strongly with Rams fans. Instead of talking about money, he talked about staying. Instead of creating uncertainty, he expressed a desire to continue wearing Rams colors. Now, the attention shifts completely toward the front office. Because if there is one thing this situation has made clear, it's that replacing Puka Nacua would be incredibly difficult. His production, leadership, chemistry with Stafford, and importance within Sean McVay's offense make him one of the foundational pieces of this football team. Players like that don't come around often, and once you have one, you usually do everything possible to keep him. The biggest question now isn't whether Rams fans want Puka to stay. That answer is obvious. The real question is how quickly the organization decides to make that happen. So now I want to hear from you. If you were running the Rams today, would you give Puka Nacua his long-term extension immediately? Or would you wait another season before committing to one of the biggest contracts in franchise history? And if negotiations drag on, do you think the Rams are taking an unnecessary risk with one of the most important players on their roster? Let me know your thoughts, because this story is only getting started. What if I told you that one of the biggest mistakes NFL executives may have made this offseason wasn't in free agency or the draft, but in how they judged one of the Rams' strongest position groups? A new league poll has left Rams fans stunned. And if there's one thing this team loves, it's proving people wrong. The question now is simple. Did the NFL just hand the Rams defense the perfect motivation for a breakout season? A new ESPN survey asked NFL coaches, executives, general managers, and scouts to rank the league's best safeties heading into the 2026 season. On paper, it sounds like just another off-season ranking, but for Rams fans, it quickly became something much bigger. The biggest surprise wasn't who finished in the top 5, it was who barely received any recognition at all. Cam Curl, one of the leaders of the Rams' secondary, didn't make the top 10. He wasn't listed among the honorable mentions either. In fact, he didn't receive enough recognition to even be considered one of the league's top-ranked safeties. Quentin Lake was mentioned only among the players who received votes, placing him well outside the top group. For many Rams fans, that simply doesn't make sense. The moment those rankings became public, the reaction was immediate. According to the report, Cam Curl even responded on social media, calling the rankings crazy before later deleting the post. Whether he regrets posting it or simply decided to let his play do the talking, one thing seems clear. He noticed the disrespect. And honestly, it's easy to understand why. Last season, Cam Curl quietly put together one of the most complete years of any safety in football. He finished with over 120 total tackles while also contributing sacks, interceptions, and forced fumbles. Those numbers highlight exactly what makes him valuable. He isn't just a deep safety who waits for passes to come his way. He plays close to the line of scrimmage, supports the run, blitzes when asked, and still makes plays in coverage. Finding that kind of versatility isn't easy in today's NFL, yet somehow that wasn't enough to earn significant respect in the latest rankings. The situation with Quentin Lake is a little different. Unlike Cam Curl, Lake missed time because of injury, which naturally limited his statistical production. Even so, Rams fans know his impact goes far beyond the box score. Every time he was on the field, the defense looked more organized, more physical, and more confident. His ability to line up in multiple spots gives defensive coordinator Chris Shula tremendous flexibility, something that doesn't always show up in statistics but becomes obvious when watching the games. That's why so many people inside the Rams community believe both players deserved far more recognition than they received. The rankings have now created an interesting storyline entering the new season. Will Cam Curl use this as motivation? Will Quentin Lake remind everyone why the Rams trusted him with such an important role? Those questions suddenly became much more interesting because athletes often perform their best when they feel overlooked. This also says something bigger about the perception of the Rams' defense as a whole. For much of last season, conversations around Los Angeles focused on other position groups. The secondary rarely received praise, even when it was one of the more consistent units on the team. Now it feels like that trend has continued into the offseason. Inside the Rams organization, however, the confidence doesn't appear to have changed. Chris Shula continues building his defense around versatility. Players like Cam Curl and Quentin Lake fit perfectly into that philosophy because they can do much more than simply cover receivers. They can move around the formation, blitz the quarterback, support the run, and disguise coverages before the snap. That flexibility allows the Rams to create confusion for opposing offenses without constantly changing personnel. Sean McVay also benefits from having experienced players he can trust on the defensive side of the ball. While McVay is known for his offensive brilliance, successful Rams teams have always featured dependable defensive leaders, and Cam Curl and Quentin Lake are expected to be part of that leadership group entering 2026. Another person who deserves attention in this conversation is General Manager Les Snead. Building a competitive roster isn't only about finding superstar quarterbacks or wide receivers. Championships are often decided by depth, balance, and smart drafting. The Rams have consistently found valuable defensive backs outside the first round, and Cam Curl and Quentin Lake have become important pieces of that long-term vision. That's why these rankings feel so surprising. The Rams didn't spend the offseason desperately searching for new starting safeties because they already believe they have the right players. If the coaching staff had concerns about the position, they would have addressed it through free agency or the draft. Instead, they doubled down on the group they already had. That confidence speaks volumes. Now the pressure shifts to the players themselves. Sometimes the best motivation comes from outside criticism. Every tackle, every interception, every pass breakup this season will become another opportunity to remind the rest of the NFL that they made a mistake. And maybe that's exactly what makes this situation so dangerous for the rest of the league. When talented players feel ignored, they usually respond in only one way, by proving everyone wrong. If Cam Curl delivers another complete season and Quentin Lake stays healthy from start to finish, don't be surprised if these same rankings look completely different a year from now. Because right now, the Rams believe they already have one of the NFL's most underrated safety duos. The only thing left is proving it on the field. Now, I want to hear from you, Rams fans. Do you believe Cam Curl and Quentin Lake were completely disrespected in these rankings? Or do you think the NFL got it right? And do you believe this lack of recognition will give the Rams' defense even more motivation to make a statement this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this is one storyline that could end up fueling Los Angeles throughout the entire year.